this.
It does feel like a huge threat to the NATO alliance, but in his first term and in campaigning for his second, President Trump has made it clear that he's not quite a fan of NATO. What would the ramifications be? Are there specific things that you have in mind as you talk about a shift to the geopolitical world order here?
Well, I think that, you're right in saying that, Trump is not a fan of NATO, but the United States was, of course, a critical architect of NATO, and in many ways has supported NATO materially to a quite substantial degree over the course of decades. And that underpins a lot of how we think about the strategic sort of positioning of Europe and the United States vis-a-vis other powers, particularly Russia, but also other powers more globally. And so, rewiring that alliance would be just a very big departure, be a very big departure from the world order that the United States helped to create in the aftermath of World War II. And it would hark back to, I think, the attempt to acquire Greenland would certainly tear NATO to shreds. And beyond that, it would yield the beginning, I think, and we're already seeing the hints of this, of a new era of territorial competition where the threats to acquire territory and actual acts to acquire territory are going to become much more common, like they were in, let's say, the 1800s or the like, right? So it will become, it'll be sort of back to the future in that front.
Back to the Future. I saw one commentator say that an American aggressive stance towards acquiring Greenland could change the tenor of the conversation around Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan. Would it effectively hasten what you just described, the Back to the Future, if the US were to aggressively acquire Greenland?
I think that's definitely true. I mean, it's hard to imagine a US that both aggressively acquires Greenland and that is serious about Ukraine's territorial integrity or, Taiwan's sovereignty or the like. And the Trump administration has already made it, I think, crystal clear when it comes to, Ukraine's position against Russia, where the United States it stands. It's certainly not squarely on the Ukrainian side, as it has been for the first several years of the war. There's much more of a hands-off position, and let the chips fall where they may to a considerable degree, right? The same is true. I think China would. I don't see how they could read those sorts of activities in a different way, other than that the United States is attempting to project its authority in ways that are consequential for other global powers, and that it doesn't is not so interested in protecting smaller states, smaller powers, and that Taiwan included in that list.